I need to first make you guys appreciate the drastic different moral systems between the pagan world, Greco-Roman, and the Judeo-Christian world. For the Christians, the meek shall inherit the earth. How does the Iliad begin? It begins with an ode to force, Sing Muse, Wrath of Achilles. The pagan gods, from the perspective of the Christians, are completely immoral. They're envious, they're jealous, they're barely more mature than little children, and they treat us mortals like playthings that they just kill and rape. Now, the Christian God is completely incompetent from the pagan perspective. What's your superpower? Multiplying bread? Here's another example. Chastity, we're going to talk a lot about chastity today, is a high value, it's a high virtue in Christianity. But its sexual prowess, that is what is lionized in pagan myths. Think about Hercules going to Thespia and having sex with all 50 of the king's daughters in one night, right? That's what's celebrated. For Nietzsche, the history of the West is the history between these two sides waging war against each other. I quote to you Nietzsche himself, "Rome against Judea, Judea against Rome. So far, there has been no greater event than this battle." And it's a battle that has raged on for millennia, according to Nietzsche, with Christian morality securing an early victory in the conversion of Constantine and its installation of the papacy in Rome. But what you need to know about this battle is that the battle lines are not as clear as they first may seem. For example, the Renaissance and the Protestant Reformation both are nominally Christian events. But the Renaissance, because it emphasizes sensuality, right? Think about all the nude art and the nude sculptures, represents Rome for Nietzsche. Whereas Protestant Reformation, which represents a tightening of the screw of religious prohibitions, that represents Judea. So which side you actually fall on is not going to be what sides you advertise you fall on, but it's what kind of values you uphold. If you uphold values of sensuality, of power, of elitism, of appreciation for wealth and privilege, you're with Rome. If you emphasize equality, egalitarianism, compassion, all those selfless values, if you care a lot about victims, you're with Judea. And so the irony is, Nietzsche thinks that most people and most movements in modernity are Christian through and through, even if they don't realize it. Communism, socialism, feminism, animal rights activism, all of these that have as their orienting concern, a concern for the victim, are Christian through and through. Christian morality's success is so total that we're going to discuss today how even atheism and science, for Nietzsche, are going to be shown to be Christian phenomenon through and through. That would be getting a bit far ahead of ourselves. I want to return to our orienting question. How did Christian morality secure such a total victory? And the clue is going to lie for Nietzsche in the words that these two religions use to evaluate. Christian morality, slave morality, evaluates things good and evil. Pagan morality evaluates things good and bad. So Nietzsche is a philologist. That's the discipline that he received training at. And philology is the study of the development of languages. And what Nietzsche finds when he looks at master morality, good and bad, is that the word good has its roots very similar to the words noble, aristocratic, high-minded, privileged, whereas the word bad is associated with words plain, simple, common. For example, the German word for bad is very similar to the German word for plain and simple. And what that tells Nietzsche is that master morality, when they evaluate, their first act of evaluation is self-affirmation. They are the masters. They look at themselves and they say, I'm privileged, I'm an aristocrat, I'm beautiful, I'm powerful, I am good. And then they turn to the slaves and they say, well, you're none of that. And so you're bad, you're plain. Again, bad is not the presence of something in the way that evil is. Bad is the absence of something. But the slave morality, does not evaluate in this way. Slave morality establishes the word evil first. And Nietzsche's key insight is that what the slaves label as evil is precisely what the masters label as good. because the slaves are jealous of the power of the masters. They're envious, they're resentful. Again, think back to my own example. Think back to the example of my progressive acquaintance. And so, they turn these virtues into vices. Ambition becomes greed, appetite becomes gluttony, sexual prowess becomes lust, confidence becomes pride, strength becomes wrath. Okay, so where does slave morality get its concept of good? We know how it got its concept of evil. It gets its concept of good by simply flipping whatever the masters are. So you're powerful and assertive, I'm going to turn the other cheek. You're beautiful and sensual, well, I value chastity and virginity. You're strong and vivacious, well, tough luck, buddy. The meek will inherit the earth. You are wealthy and privileged, well, it'll be harder for you to enter heaven than a camel through the eye of a needle. The slaves, they don't hold values for their own sake, but only as a moral weapon against the masters. Again, think back to my progressive acquaintance. What's core, what's primary for him is his hatred of the rich. And so whatever is the opposite of that, it doesn't matter. Is it socialism? Is it communism? Is it welfare? It doesn't really matter. Whatever is the opposite of that, he's going to align himself to. So for Nietzsche, this is the big difference between the master and the slave mode of evaluation. The master defines good in himself. Whatever is not that is bad. The slave defines evil in the master. And whatever is the opposite of that is good. And the slave mode of evaluation for Nietzsche is going to be the origin of both Christian morality and egalitarianism. And he wants us to see its perversion. He wants to change our tastes through three ways. The first is by pointing out the internal psychology of the slaves. The slaves, they're negative. They're naysayers, right? Because their primary act of evaluation is to say, power, bad. Beauty, bad. Wealth, bad. Privilege, bad. They don't stand for anything. They only stand against things. And as a result, their own internal psychology is of a seething hate. It's of loathing. It's of envy. So what about the master's internal psychology? Well, the masters, they're yes-sayers, right? Their first act of evaluation is to say, I'm awesome, I'm beautiful, I'm strong, I'm rich, this is awesome. And what this surplus of confidence provides for the master is that the master becomes somewhat indifferent, a cool nonchalance to the external world. He embraces danger. He's not easily offended at all. And even when he commits atrocities, he walks away cheerful. I quote to you Nietzsche. Masters step back into the innocence of the beast of prey conscience as jubilant monsters, who perhaps walk away from a hideous succession of murder, arson, rape, torture, with such high spirits and equanimity that it seems as if they have only played a student prank, convinced that for years to come, the poets will again have something to sing in praise. The picture that Nietzsche paints of the master is of this joyful brute. And he is a brute, okay? So he's very stupid, partially because he's never had to use his intellect. But what's positive here is his naivete, okay? The fact that he doesn't overthink things. And if you think Nietzsche is exaggerating with that quote I just gave you, that's literally how the Iliad begins. Achilles commits murder, arson, rape, and all he can think about is his own reputation, his own immortal glory. So the best way to think about Nietzsche's master is your high school jock, okay? He's a physical specimen. He's on top of the social pecking order. He loves danger, extreme sports, drunk driving, body checking people in hockey. He bullies people, not because he's mad, but for him, it's fun to shove someone into a locker. And you can call all manner of obscenities to his face, partially because he's so smug and confident, partially because he's too stupid to realize what you're actually saying. That might sound a very negative ideal for us, partially because we have been influenced by Christian morality, but it's the naive self-assurance, okay? It's the willingness to indulge in one's simple desires. It's the natural independence. That's the first reason that makes this masterly mode of evaluation preferable to the slave. Thanks for watching this clip. My name is Jonathan B., and I'm creating accessible lectures and interviews on the great books. If you want to watch the full lecture where this clip came from, click here.
If you want to go even deeper into these ideas beyond what I put out on YouTube, then join my email list at greatbooks.io. You'll not only get lectures and interviews, but also transcripts, book summaries, and essays, all to help you explore the most important books in history. Thank you.